Hey guys, alright? Welcome everyone. The film begins by showing us a woman named Georgia reminiscing about her past and the people she loved most. Some time ago, on Christmas Eve, Georgia is shocked and confused to discover she's pregnant. Sam wants to take responsibility and asks her to marry him. Sam is willing to support Georgia in whatever decision she makes, but it doesn't make Georgia feel any better. Georgia then invites Sam to her parents' house to celebrate Christmas with them. After spending Christmas with her family, Sam asks permission to take Georgia to the city that night. In fact, at Georgia's parents' house, they are always assisted by a humanoid robot, an android named Eli. Georgia and Sam then go to a friend's house to continue the Christmas celebrations with them. A waiter android named Daniel approaches them and offers everyone a drink. Georgia approaches Sam and asks about his cell phone, which Sam forgot, as he also left his phone at his home. Georgia then goes to the bathroom and starts telling her friend, Sarah, about her pregnancy. Georgia explains that she's scared and unprepared because they're both students and still young. She's not even sure if she wants to be with Sam and asked to break up with him. In the middle of the conversation, something unexpected happens, where a high-frequency radio wave is heard, causing Sarah's cell phone to be thrown, followed by disturbances in electronic devices. As soon as the sound is muffled, they hear a commotion downstairs. They witness Daniel, the android, attacking their friends due to the sound waves emitted by the sound generator. They try to get out of the situation, but Sam falls while trying to save Georgia. Sam and Georgia are almost killed by Daniel but are saved by one of their friends, who beats Daniel with a baseball bat until he shuts down. It turns out that the situation outside has become chaotic as a result of an attack by the androids working in each of their homes. Those who were connected with their cell phones are killed due to the mysterious explosion involving the devices. Fortunately, Georgia and Sam didn't bring their cell phones with them. We can see the state of the city that was brought down as a result of the androids' attack. After several months, Georgia's belly has grown in size as her pregnancy has progressed to the 9th month. At this point, she will soon go through the labor process. Sam proves his sense of responsibility by always showing concern for Georgia and patiently protecting his beloved. After the attack, they remained in the area for several months, waiting for conditions to recover. However, as the situation worsened, they were forced to try to travel to New York. On their way to New York, the presence of a large army of androids frightened humans, causing the army to detonate an electromagnetic pulse, also known as EMP. The same as the only solution humans have to kill the androids through the shockwaves emitted by the explosion, but it can only be detonated once. In the end, after the wave had subsided, the androids launched their second attack, which successfully brought down New York. Now that Sam and Georgia are on their way to Boston, they need to walk 6 miles through the forest to get there because the city streets have been taken over by the androids. They then found a heavily guarded military base. The soldiers order them to leave their belongings on the ground and walk backward. They are then checked to ensure they are normal humans and not one of those creatures. After passing the test, they are allowed to enter the safe camp. Georgia meets with Dr. Howe and consults about her pregnancy. She also talks about their long journey as well as the couple's intention to visit Boston. The doctor then informs them that Boston has been fortified, and they cannot proceed directly there. Additionally, the surrounding area is in no man's land, making it very difficult for anyone to survive that route. Georgia explains that she plans to give birth at the Boston base, which is close to the dock. After that, they will head to the dock to board a ship to Korea, where, according to rumors, the situation is much safer there. But, according to Dr. Howe, only women and babies are welcome there as they also need to maintain food supplies. As her gestational age approaches the due date, the doctor advises her to stay in the camp until she gives birth. Sam, on the other hand, is trying to ask one of the soldiers for a ride to Boston. But the soldier underestimates Sam because he thinks he wants to leave the ruined America and flee to Asia. Later that night, Georgia argues that it's not good news because one of them will have to remain in America. Sam admits he can accept that as long as Georgia and their child are safe. Georgia, who is listening, becomes emotional, believing Sam is deliberately wanting to shirk his responsibility. A fight ensues between them, and Georgia says some hurtful things. As a result, Sam leaves the tent and goes to find out more about a group heading to Boston. At a ceremony honoring the new recruits, he encounters the same army soldier. In a drunken state, the soldier challenges Sam to a fight, in exchange for which Sam and his beloved will be accompanied by a group toward Nashua the next day. This will reduce the distance between them and Boston. The arrogant soldier seems quite confident, as if he's sure he could defeat little Sam. But in reality, the opposite happened. The next morning, Georgia is awakened by a female officer. Georgia is then taken to meet the base commander. It turns out Sam has been arrested for defeating one of the soldiers, leaving him quite injured. As Sam refuses to serve as a substitute soldier, the commander orders Sam and Georgia to be expelled, despite knowing the girl is pregnant. A very inhumane decision on the part of a military man who should be protecting civilians. But for Georgia, the stupidest thing is Sam's action. Because of his actions, they are forced to go through the dangerous route that could harm the pregnancy. In fact, Sam's only intention is to fulfill her wish. They then continue their journey through the rainstorm. Once the rain stopped, they continued their journey and found an abandoned house. Sam found a mattress for Georgia to sleep comfortably, and also found a camera. After taking a picture, Sam left the remaining one to take a picture of him and Georgia after the birth of their child. Before going to bed that night, Georgia looks at route maps, while Sam reads a medical dictionary to learn more about childbirth. As the Boston area is under siege by androids, the only way to get there is by sea. Georgia determines their route, which is the northern route through New Hampshire before continuing to Portsmouth and finally arriving by boat at Boston Harbor. Basically, their journey will be very dangerous because they will pass through areas that cannot be reached by the PM wave, and of course, there will be androids everywhere. The travel time is estimated at 3 to 4 days, with silent movement to avoid attracting android attention. The two also agree to continue their journey after their child is born in this house. The next morning, Sam is seen breaking the agreement from the previous night and is fixing a motorcycle to help with the journey, as he is uncertain about waiting for the birth of their child in that place. Georgia disagrees because the sound of the bike would attract the android robots to the place they are in. But according to Sam, their journey will be even more difficult if their child is born before they leave the area. They couldn't walk silently with a crying baby, especially when the baby is hungry and cold. After persuading Georgia, they prepare their equipment and continue their motorcycle journey. At first, everything seems fine. Sam and Georgia are having a great time on their journey until they finally stop by the river to rest. While they are enjoying the peace and quiet, Georgia suddenly notices the figure they don't want to deal with behind the leaves. Without delay, Sam quickly starts his bike and takes off with Georgia. It is at this moment that the androids appear and start chasing them. Even though Georgia manages to take down one android, the other androids keep popping up. They are even using a drone to chase them. In the end, Sam leaves Georgia so she can go back to the river and hide while Sam attracts the attention of the androids. Suddenly, a man appears in front of Georgia. He asks Georgia to follow him to save herself. Even hesitant to leave Sam, the man persuades her to save herself first before thinking about saving Sam. This man's name is Arthur. Once they arrive at the hideout, Georgia asks about the safety of this place, which seems strange since the androids can't find them. Arthur explains that he used to work as an AI programmer at Raster Robotics, and that he's still alive because he knows how robots think. Arthur tells about a book written by Karel Capek in the year 1920. He explains that it's the book that describes the human condition today. According to the book, there is a scientist who is working on creating a new life to prove that there is no God. The creation known as roboti, which are artificial creatures made of living flesh and blood to look exactly like humans and serve as personal servants. Additionally, it's difficult to distinguish between robots and humans. Initially, they seemed happy to serve humans, but it ends with a robotic rebellion that almost led to the extinction of humanity. After a while, Georgia wakes up feeling a contraction. Georgia believes it's not yet time to give birth, so she decides to go in search of Sam. Arthur tries to contain her because what she will find outside is not a normal servant robot, but a killing machine. Although humans are not robots, Arthur claims that androids can still hack human programs through love. Even though it seems absurd, but through emotion, androids will exploit human weaknesses with their strategies that humans cannot predict. Georgia asks why Arthur cares so much about her. However, Arthur puts his ear to Georgia's belly. He then cries like a traumatized person while repeating a verse several times. Arthur offers to safely take Georgia to Boston. He then gives her a camouflage vest he developed 8 years ago. This vest will make humans undetectable by the killer androids. Such enemies detect humans through UV, heat sensors, and night vision, and this vest works as a shield against all that. However, it is only invisible to the eyes, and Georgia still needs to be careful because the robots can still hear and smell humans. Arthur then takes her to an android hideout house. As they approach the house, Arthur hands Georgia her vest and instructs her to enter and put it on Sam before leaving. Arthur doesn't go with her because he only has 2 vests. Georgia then bravely makes her way into the house. The vest technology really makes him invisible to the androids. In fact, the androids are torturing Sam to attract anyone who comes to get him. She manages to get in, and with slow, silent steps, she passes between the androids unnoticed. Fortunately, she soon sees Sam, who is badly injured in the leg. While Georgia tries to rescue Sam and the other man who was making noise, one of the robots enters upon hearing the sound. Sam then attracts attention by provoking the android, but this only makes him suffer more torture by the robot. After the robots leave, Georgia rushes to release Sam and ignores the calls of the other hostages. But this man continues to beg for help, threatening to scream and call the androids if she doesn't help. Seeing that Georgia is not helping him, he then screams and the androids start chasing them. As they fall, Arthur appears out of nowhere and helps them by shooting all the androids. After taking down some androids, they head towards the truck. Arthur drives the truck at high speed, while Sam is barely conscious, and Georgia has to deal with the fact that she is about to give birth. She cuts her pants and struggles to give birth to her child in the truck. Sometime later, Georgia wakes up in a hospital bed, and a doctor hands the baby to her. The doctor informs that Arthur is resting at the moment, as he passed out after taking Georgia and Sam to the Boston protection camp. Georgia and Sam are very happy to see their baby, whom they decided to name Forrest. According to the doctor, Arthur caused a big commotion at the checkpoint, so the soldiers were forced to let them in, as they realized that the health of the couple Georgia and Sam was serious. In a hurry, they finally managed to operate Georgia to give birth to the baby. Even though they are happy at the moment, the worst part of Sam's struggle is losing both legs. However, Sam tries to reassure Georgia because he will probably use robotic legs when he gets to Korea. After that, an army representative begins to interrogate them. Georgia tells about her journey, which was possible thanks to Arthur's vest technology. She explains all the technology to the military. But the military is shocked and confused because the technology described by Georgia never existed. If it did, they would have been introduced and received it from the state leadership. When Georgia hears this, she suddenly remembers Arthur's words and realizes she was deceived. Furthermore, it is found that Arthur is one of the androids who only used her as a way for the robots to infiltrate the Boston protection camp. This is proven after the interrogation ends, where an army of androids begins to attack the Boston camp. Sam, on the other hand, fell asleep due to the medication injection. Georgia covers him with a cloth and says she will come back after getting help, then leaves with her son. She is already aware that the android's goal in infiltrating the base is to detonate the PM, as explained by Dr. Howe. Georgia then goes through the battlefield between the soldiers and the androids until she reaches the room where the PM is. Suddenly Arthur appears behind her. He threatens to stab the child if she doesn't help him deactivate the PM. From here, we also learn that the androids were programmed to be emotional to make humans feel comfortable. As Arthur continues to approach Georgia, she repeatedly shoots him in the head until his face is destroyed and reveals his true robotic face. Not long after, the other androids start to appear, forcing Georgia to hold the door. Finally, she manages to jump and detonate the PM, which was loaded to use in extreme emergency. As a result, the explosion paralyzes the androids in the area. Sometime later, Georgia wakes up again in the patient's room next to Sam and Forrest. Georgia then takes the last remaining camera and takes a picture of them. Before the conditions worsen again, Sam invites them to immediately go to the port to catch an evacuation ship. When they arrive there, there is a Korean ship about to leave the port. Unfortunately, the officer explains that Korea will only take the baby, not the parents. It's not about space on the ship, but once they're in Korea, they will need jobs to survive. Seeing Sam's amputated leg state, they are not sure if they can survive there. Sam understands the situation and asks Georgia to let Forrest go with the officer. According to Sam, this baby may have a better life in Korea. Georgia signs the parental rights waiver letter provided by the officer with a heavy heart. She also writes a letter to her son, so he can read her sadness for being separated from him. After writing a letter, she advises an officer to find parents who will care for and love their son. At this point, Georgia can't hold back her tears, and she cries a lot when she sees her son leaving. Before the movie ends, Georgia tries to leave all the sad memories of her life by burning a picture of Sam. But she chooses to keep a picture of her with Sam and Forrest, as the most beautiful moment of her life as a mother. Georgia is now living alone, without Sam. Sam's fate is not spoken, who due to his injuries may no longer be alive. We end up seeing Georgia going with a group of soldiers to Portland, where the soldiers have built a base, to grant shelter to the survivors.